Hello and welcome again to another bodgit and leggit video. Today we're going to talk about ABS sensors. As you can see, we have a fault here. We have a 2000 Land Rover Discovery Series 2 TD5, and the ABS light and everything is on the dash. As we can see, the ABS light, traction control light and the hill descent light is on. And when we plug it in, it's coming up right rear sensor, which is the back driver's side, you could say, so in there somewhere. And we have the sensor here. It's one we have to connect and join ourselves. So obviously, first thing you need to do is plug it in like I've done here to find out which sensor is gone. Now, even though it says there's a sensor gone, doesn't necessarily mean it is. It could be the ABS ring, could be faulty, could be a wire broke, it could be a few things, but 99% of the time it is the ABS sensor. So that's what we're going to replace first, and hopefully it works. So get this on the lift, turn the camera back on, and we'll see where we're going. Well, as you can see, we have the wheel off and the brakes off. Basically all I've done is I've took two bolts off here and I've taken the caliper and the carrier. Hopefully you can see that. There we go. Get this all off as one, and then there was a screw on the disc, and the disc is now on the floor. I've done other videos on how to take calipers and discs off and stuff, so there's no point in me showing you on this one. Very straightforward though, just two bolts. And we can now see the ABS sensor, so we can see it goes into the hub here. This is the cable or the wire going all the way up to this connection here. Now, the one we have doesn't have this connection on, which is a bit of a nightmare because it means I have to now join it. There's not a lot of room to join it up here, so I'm going to leave this connection, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this to the bench, this cable here, and I'm going to join it. So I'm going to solder it and seal it so it's kind of the best connection you can get. I've done a video on how to solder, but I'm going to show you this one. Heat shrink it, solder it, and put it back. Right, now this is the problem. We could have a problem with this ABS sensor, we could have a problem with this connection here, or we could even have a problem from the wire back, or we could have a problem with the actual bearing with the ABS ring on. So it's kind of a lottery really, but like I said, most of the time it is the ABS sensor. This looks like a little, oh, it's an Allen key, it's maybe 5-6 mil Allen key. So I'm going to take that off, we'll bring it upstairs, do the bit of soldering on it, fit it, and hopefully, fingers crossed, it's going to work. Let's crack on. Okay, so I have the sensor off. Like I said, little Allen key. Be careful of the Allen key bolt, you don't want to round it. Now obviously it goes without saying, if you can get the one with the connection on, get it. I don't know why I've got this sent like this. It is pretty annoying. I wouldn't normally do it, but this car is going for the test tomorrow and it is now 4:30, so I have no choice but to do it this way. Normally I would be reordering the sensor. Anyway, what we can do is we can cut this sensor in half and join it together. There is a way of testing this sensor with an oscilloscope. There's no point in me showing you that because if you haven't got an oscilloscope you can't do it, so that's kind of pointless. But anyway, sensor, old sensor, snips, and literally just physically have a look, see if you can see anything that's stretched, beaten or anything, because obviously if you've got a niche up here, there's no point cutting it down here. But to be fair, this all kind of looks good, so I'm just going to literally go straight for the middle. No turning back now. So we're hoping this is the part that's faulty. So we can chuck that aside. Just get these two wires here and pair them back to see hopefully the different colours, which will make our life a lot easier. And as we can see, they're not. This just gets better and better, doesn't it? Now we have two colours here. So what we're going to basically have to do, I'm afraid, is just guess. So what I'm going to do first to make it a little bit easier for myself I'm going to cut this, give me a bit more wire. Now, peel this back. No, still can't. It's bloody strong, that. Keep going then. Now, should give me enough. Snip all this off. What I'm going to do is just extend these. Now I know on some sensors it doesn't matter which way they go. Some sensors it does. I'm not 100% sure on this sensor, so all I'm going to do, I'm just going to plop that back in the car. I'm just going to temporarily twist these wires together to see, just lower that, and just like that. That's all I'm going to do, and I'm going to pop this connection back into the car, pop that connection on. Now, depending on the car, sometimes if your ABS sensor's gone and you put a new one on, it'll automatically wipe the code. Some cars you have to go into it like I did on my computer and basically tell it to wipe the code. So what I'm going to do, there's no point me filming this next bit, but I'm just going to pop this back on the car. I'm going to turn the ignition on, see if the lights go out. If they don't go out, I'm going to wipe the computer to say that there's no problems, turn the ignition back on, and if it still comes on, I'm going to swap these wires around and do the same thing again. Now if it stays on after all that, we know we have a problem somewhere else, so let's hope it don't. So I'll be back in a jiff. Okie dokie, so I've done that. The light stayed on. I wiped it and the light still stayed on, and then I remembered, I'm pretty certain anyway, I could be wrong, I hope I'm right, that you have to drive this a little bit for it to kind of recognize it again. So I'm gonna go with that theory and I'm gonna do this properly, and hopefully I'm right, because if not, it's just an awful lot of work for nothing. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to measure the old sensor, which to be honest I felt was a bit tight, so I'm just going to give me a little bit more room. Now what I'm going to do is, because it said everything was fine and it didn't come back up this far, I'm going to mark this wire here with the black one, so I know. Like I said, I don't know if it's going to make a difference, but I'm just going to leave it the same way, so at least I know that that's black and the other one is blue. So, spare wire, very nice. I want to get that off. There's some connections. If we look here, we had this rubber little connection on, and we have them on here. Need to find the end of the wire. There we go. Now we can put that on. Move that to the side. Now I can put this on. It's just when it goes through the hub, just a bit more protection for rubbing purposes. So we now need to peel back the wires. I say we have to, but it's not working. Come on. There we go. Now, and I want to pare back them and that. Now, like I said on a previous video, what I need to do is I need to tin these. And what I mean by tinning, I tin these first. I have a heat shrink here. I need to pre-tin these. I'm going to get my little holder in my gadget just to hold these wires, make it a little bit easier for me. I need my soldering. There we go. Solder. Soldering gun. Wind. Put the gun at the bottom and just let it flow. Let it flow. Now, as we can see, hopefully you can see, the solder is running all the way through. Now, hopefully that's coming through. But as you can see, that there completely full of solder. Now, what you got to remember to do, and I always forget, is now to cut the heat shrink and feed it on. I need to pare back this wire a tad more just to get. Now, so you can just put the heat shrink down on the wire, because believe me, I always forget to do that. Now, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to tin the white one. Oh, someone's just come in. I'm going to have to go. Back again. I don't know what some people think this is, a garage or something. Stupid people. So, let's get tinning. Oh, going out of camera shot. Tin this wire now. Now, so we're tinned. Now, this is on my other video, if you'd have seen how to solder wires correctly. Might get a few people saying I'm doing this wrong, but I can tell you here and now, this is the only way to do it. So, I'm just going to grab that and push these together, so side by side. Now, this is the tricky bit. To hold these together and to solder them can be quite tricky, but once you've pre-tinned it, what you can do is put a little bit of solder on your gun. Now, hopefully my hand's not gonna, well, I've done another video on this, but you'll get the idea. Get these as close as you can and basically solder them together. I didn't do a very good job there. They're together, but they're not together right. So I have to redo that. It's just very awkward to film this and do this at the same time. You're just not bloody behaving, are you? Now, that is properly soldered together. They're side by side. There's a good bit of solder on them. Believe me, the only way to do it. Next thing we need to do is slide the heat shrink across. You can see that's completely across. You can get a lighter or something. I don't have a lighter, but I have the soldering iron, which I can now literally just go over here. As we can see, it's shrinking. If you get the right size, it's waterproof as well, so it's all good. Even if a little bit of water or condensation gets into it, as long as you've soldered it properly, the connection will stay. Like I said, if I had more time, believe me, I would be putting on the connection. I'll be getting another one with the connection, but we don't have time, so I only have this way of doing it, unfortunately. Now, that is nice and strong, it's not going anywhere, sorted. Now we can take this black tape off here because we know we can't really get them muddled up now. Same again, pre-tin. This one. I'm guessing the reason why they've given me it like this is because there could be 5 or 6 different sensors for that particular car, and it's easier for the manufacturers just to make one sensor that you basically solder in like this, rather than making 5 or 6 with different connections, and one might not sell for a while. So at least this way they'll be able to set them all the time. Just kind of makes it a little bit trickier for us, but hey ho. Now, ow, just burnt myself. That's clever. Let's get this together. This is always a tricky bit, just getting this lined up, especially on camera. Trying to look through the camera and do this, make sure I'm not in the way all at the same time. Bloody difficult. So let's try again. See what happens this time. Oh, please stay like that. Please stay. Yes. Look at that. See? It's like I know what I'm doing. Perfect. Now, slide the old heaty shrinky across it. Heat it up again. Good stuff, this. And the other good thing about doing it this way is I can do it on the bench, not trying to do it in the car, which can be difficult at times, but sometimes the only way you can do it. So look, they are properly soldered. I'm just going to put a bit of tape over it just to protect it now. We know that they're properly soldered, but this will just kind of seal everything. Now I've made this a little bit longer too, because it did look like, to be fair, it was kind of stretched. So maybe what happened is this has hit something, like, you know, when it's been off road and just kind of pulled the wire out the end maybe. That's what I'm hoping. So this is now ready to put back on, so I'm going to put it back on. No point in me showing you because you've seen it already. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on, put the brakes on, take it for a spin, and hopefully, fingers crossed, it solves the problem. So it's just a clip, an Allen key, put the brakes back on, sorted. So I said I'd just quickly show you it's on. Clip back into there. I put a couple of cable ties and actually put them back in the clips. It was never actually in this clip properly. There's a clip down here as well. Have the brakes on. So just a couple of bolts to the carrier. I got to put this screw in here, bang the wheel on, put it down on the deck. I'll then film from inside, and hopefully as I'm moving it, fingers crossed, it's going to turn the ABS light off. If not, then we'll see what the fault comes back as, and hopefully it doesn't come back as this sensor. We'll see. Alright, let's see what happens. Oh, where's the keys? Back out the keys. Now, a good tip, starts a lot easier with the keys. So all the lights are on. ABS light, well, that's interesting. The hill descent light and the traction control light has gone off, but the ABS light is still on. Now I'm going to have to try and reverse this out and look at the same time at the camera. Sorry about this camera work now. This might be a bit dodgy. No, traction control light's back on. I don't think we've done this, but we'll go forward and we'll see. Forwards. I have a feeling that we haven't done it. So, let's just brake. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go down the road, do about 30 miles an hour and see what happens. Now YouTubers, as we can see, light's gone off, all good. There we go. Now I'm going to have to go because obviously I'm driving. So there we go, look, hope it helps. Thumbs up and subscribe, and don't forget, get your hands dirty. See you for the next one.